Gear up, scooter fam. Today I'm going to do a four-way scooter comparison between the Nami Super Stellar, the Solar FF Lite, the Roadrunner RS5, and the Apollo City. Before we get into the video, just want to remind you that there's three ways to support the channel. You can buy me a coffee, pick up some merch, or join my Patreon. Thanks for the support. We're going to do this four-way comparison, like I said. Let's start off by looking at each one, and then sort of I'm going to give my take on them when I'm done and rank them from 1 to 4 based on my favorite to the least favorite. All right. The idea was to pick 4 scooters over $1,500, but just over 15, and not quite 2,000, but just in between $1,500 and $2,000. All right, here we go. So speaking of which, the City Pro is $1,649, but there is a code that I got that I can share with you guys. I'll put it up above where you can save $149, bringing it down to $1,499. So that is a $1,500 scooter. But normally it's $1,649 without that discount code, so it still made the cut. All right, the Roadrunner RS5 is $1,799, but there also is a $50 code. I'll put it above. You can save $50, bringing that price down to $1,749. And the Solar FF Lite is normally $18.99, but there's a 12% off deal still going on with Black Friday BF12. Once again, I'll put the code up above. And that will get you right around $1,670 for the Solar FF Lite. The Nami Super Stellar is $16.99, and I also have a code for that. And I'll put it up above, and it gets you 5% off, which brings the price down to right about $1,614 if you're interested in picking up the Nami Super Stellar from Wild Rise. As far as range goes, the City Pro has been tested at right at 22 miles of range. The Roadrunner RS5 tested at around 30 miles of range. And the FF Lite and the I did a estimated range with my calculation of around 33 miles. And then the Nami Super Stellar is estimated to be right at 30 miles. So all roughly around the same, except the Apollo City does seem to come in at the least, with the least amount of range at just over 22, or right at 22 miles of range. The top speed of the Apollo City is just over 31 miles an hour. For the Roadrunner, just over 41 miles an hour. The Solar FF Lite states a top speed of 45 miles per hour, so probably in the 40s. And then the Nami Super Stellar has a top speed of 35 miles per hour stated. But based on their other top speeds that they state, I probably would expect that to be fairly accurate. The weight of the Apollo City is right at 70 pounds. The Roadrunner is the heaviest at just over 90 pounds. The Solar FF Lite is also right at 70 pounds, and the Nami Super Stellar is 16 pounds. Just to note, before moving on, the Nami Super Stellar, this is a dual motor, if you didn't catch that from before. This is a dual motor version. In a previous video, I've corrected it since then, but in a previous video, I stated that this was a single motor scooter, and that's because the picture shows a single motor scooter. I did follow up with who I believe someone on one of the Nami boards that was from Wild Rise, I believe, associated with them somehow. Gave me an answer. I asked if this was indeed a dual motor scooter for $16.99, and he confirmed that it was. So even though this is a picture of a single motor scooter, when you order the Super Stellar from Wild Rise, it is a dual motor scooter with all of these specs being correct. For the City Pro, the maximum load is 265 pounds. For the RS5 Pro, it is 330 pounds. Same for the FF Lite, And then the Nami Super Stellar is 264 pounds. Also given to me by the same guy from the Nami board. The motor power for the Apollo City is dual 500 watt motors. For the RS5, it is a total of 2800 watts for dual 1400 watt motors. The Solar FF Lite is dual 1600 watt motors, and the Nami Super Stellar is dual 1000 watt motors. The Apollo City has a 48 volt system, the RS5 a 52 volt system, the Solar FF Lite has a 60 volt system, and the Nami Super Stellar has a 52 volt system. They're all dual motor scooters. The Apollo City has a thumb throttle, and the rest of these have a paddle style throttle. All four of the scooters have a dual suspension. The Apollo City has front and rear drum brakes. The Roadrunner has nut hydraulic brakes on front and rear. The Solar FF Lite has hydraulic disc brakes. And of course the Nami Super Stellar has dual Logan hydraulic brakes. They're all 10-inch tubeless tires, with the Apollo City coming with sealant. The IP rating for the Apollo City is IP66. For the RS5 Pro, it's IP67. For the FF Lite, IP54. And the Nami Super Stellar, IP55. I believe the only one with a UL listing is the Apollo City. None of the others are UL listed. All right. Let's get into it a little bit. Take a look at each scooter here, sort of objectively. I have not made up my mind about anything before coming to this video. Just pick 4 scooters that I thought could compete well. I really wanted to take a look at the Stellar a little closer now that I know it's a dual motor, and sort of give some feedback from that perspective, and compare it to some other scooters. So I thought that would be a fun video. All right. For the price, coming in $1,600 with the 5% discount. It's not bad. Range, estimated range isn't bad. Top speed 35 miles an hour. It's probably more than I will need most of the time. And 35 is a nice speed to be able to get up to. 60 pounds makes it the lightest of the group, which is pretty sweet. 60 pounds is pretty nice for a scooter that can do what the Super Stellar can do. 2,000 watt motors, the same as the Klima. 52 volt versus 60 volt for the Klima. So a little less battery, but you get probably a little less range. Certainly less top speed. So you get the dual Logan hydraulic brakes, although on this one I saw a mechanical brake. So on the other one, so I'm assuming the Super Stellar has dual Logan brakes because it says it does. IP55, which is awesome. IP54 for the Solar. What's the best deal going right now? The Apollo City is a great deal. It's got the smallest battery. It's got the least amount of range. It's the slowest on the list. So it's fitting that it's the cheapest because it's the slowest. It gets the least amount of range. It's typical of Apollo and their price ranges for the most part. I think they're a tad overpriced most of the time. I like this. I like the Apollo City at $14.99. Given none of these other scooters are $14.99 at the moment, the next cheapest one is over $1,600, over $100 more than the City Pro. So, yeah. That being said, it is the only one UL listed. It does have an IP66 rating. RS5 is nice. It's also the most expensive, so it warrants the highest price. It's also the heaviest at over 90 pounds. It's not quite the fastest. The FF Lite stating 45 miles per hour. Solar tends to state their their top speed correctly. So it's at least as fast as a Roadrunner for sure. It weighs less. That's a plus. Being the FF Lite, still support 330 pounds, 60 volt. It's the highest voltage on the list. It's the largest battery on the list as well. And I estimated the range to be at 33 miles. So that is the largest range of the group as well, with the highest top speed. So the FF Lite, performance-wise, and interestingly enough, it's 70 pounds, which is not the heaviest, but second heaviest. Apollo City very close to 70 pounds. So that's pretty much a tie. The Super Stellar is the lightest of the bunch. Man, I think I'm gonna choose the Super Stellar, even at $1,600 compared to these others in this particular group. You know, I like the FF Lite. I think it's actually a good buy under $1,700, but the Super Stellar with that 5% discount, it's right at $1,600. I think that's decent. It's dual motor. I think it's decent compared to these other three. I think it's number one. All right, for number two, probably gonna go with the FF Lite. I'm gonna go with the FF Lite. It's got the best performance. It's a tad heavier, but it's got top speed. It's pretty close between those two. IP54 is the lowest, and although I can live with it, I would rather have something higher than 54, since that is the lowest. At least a 55 would be preferable, or something with a 5 on the end. But in any case, yeah, I'm gonna go with the FF Lite for number two. Number three, I like the Apollo City. I'm gonna go with the Apollo City as my third choice, because I can get it for $14.99 at the moment, and I like that price for that scooter. I think that's where that scooter should be adequately priced. I think the RS5 may be a tad high. If it was even like, I mean, $1749 is not the end of the world, but you know, considering these other prices, really good deals on the rest of these scooters right now. That's the only reason it came in last. It's a nice scooter. It's got the highest IP rating of all. Nut hydraulic brakes. It's a seriously nice scooter. I don't got a problem with it. It's a 52 volt, unlike the FF Lite, which is a 60. So the FF Lite was an easy second choice. The Apollo Pro, I just like the deal. I think it's a great deal right now. It is the shortest range. It is the slowest, but it still goes 30 miles an hour. It still gets 21 miles of range, almost 22. You know, I can live with that for the price for what it is. I can live with that. And as far as, you know, comparing it inside this group, I like the Apollo City as my number three, and then finally the RS5 Pro for the number four on my list. I like them all four. I think they're all decent deals right now. The RS5 the least so, in my opinion. Although it's a very nice scooter, I would prefer it to be around at least $100 cheaper, $150. If it was like $1650, like, you know, kind of in between like the FF Lite and the Super Stellar, it would be much more attractive. Guys, if you found this content helpful and you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining me on Patreon, picking up some merch, or buying me a coffee. Thanks, and happy riding.